we don't understand why. We don't pretend to know why things like this happen, but what we do know is that God is near to us, that he is comforting us, and that our children, our daughters are rejoicing with God in heaven. And so there's reason for us to rejoice as well, that the place that they are now is actually far greater than the place that they were here.
Your life, your journey starts now.
Welcome back to the Journey Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler.
I'm Abigail.
In light of some of the things that have been going on just in our world recently, between devastating floods in Texas that have claimed the lives of so many, to war and potential war in the Middle East, and just everything else that seems to be going on, and leaving people feeling anxious or worried about what's next, grieved, saddened by what has happened. We just wanted to talk about what the appropriate response is in light of these things. What should we think? What should we do? What do we believe about why bad things happen, or when bad things happen? How are we supposed to respond? How do we not allow the constant negative news cycle to kind of take us to a place that we don't want to go? I think it can be easy in times of distress for whatever reason, but I think especially in times like this, when we have these very public, national news cycle level tragedies that happen, for people to instantly start pointing the finger at those of us who would say that we're believers, to say, where the heck was God in all of that? Like, what's going on here? And even for us as Christians, I think it's natural to say, like, God, where are you? Like, what I don't understand. But the thing that I think just kind of off the bat to remember is that one of the promises repeated in Scripture is that God's near to the brokenhearted. I think of Psalm 34:18 in particular, but there are others of just times where it's not like what God did was made the world and then stepped back and said, hey, you guys are just kind of having to fend for yourselves, but that we believe that God's actually present and near to us. And so one of the things, even when we don't understand, even when we can't see how tragedies like this can happen, to be able to just remind ourselves, like on a personal level, like, oh, God is near to the brokenhearted. And so many of the families, in particular from the Camp Mystic flooding in Texas, have spoken out about this, saying, like, we don't understand why, we don't pretend to know why things like this happen, but what we do know is that God is near to us, that he is comforting us, and that our children, our daughters are rejoicing with God in heaven. And so there's reason for us to rejoice as well, that the place that they are now is actually far greater than the place that they were here. And I don't think that makes it easier necessarily, like being a parent and having to grieve the loss of your child. I don't think it makes things just all okay because we know that they're in heaven. But I do think that there's a type of rest that can be found in knowing, like, okay, no matter what happened, no matter what the circumstances of the situation were, we can at least trust that where they are now is a place that the Bible describes as having no tears, no sorrow, no pain, like rejoicing in the presence of God for all eternity. And so I've just been reminded recently of like that call in the midst of suffering to find hope in the presence of God, just knowing that he's near to us. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think that I agree with all those statements. And then also the fact that you can still mourn and have hope.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's still going to hurt. And, when you lose someone that you love, or when something happens, maybe you lose a home. I've had that happen to me. You can still rejoice that you have a home in the future, but the fact that something was taken from you hurts, and it's okay to mourn. Mm-hmm. And we know that God comforts the people who are mourning. And also I'm reminded of the book of Job and how God used Job's suffering to kind of show bad things still are going to happen to us. The Bible doesn't say your life is going to be perfect and good and you're going to have rainbows and cupcakes and unicorns and just all nice things happen to you. It's like, well, we actually have the Bible to show us what we should do when we're suffering and when we're hurting. And I'm also reminded of James, where it says, "Consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person does not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do." So I think that taking joy in these hard times and these trials is really important, because we don't know everything. And it talks about in 1 Corinthians how we only see face to face as in cloudy mirror.
Yeah, right.
And then then we shall see face to face fully. On this side of heaven, we don't know the reasons why everything happens. We're not all knowing. And that also takes a certain level of humility to understand that it's not possible for us right now. And it's just not going to be. And that's really hard. And I think we can all grieve together. That's where we come together as a body of Christ and brothers and sisters in Christ, we just mourn with each other, because it hurts.
Yeah. I don't think it's helpful in every circumstance, like to a parent of grieving the loss of their child. I would not say something like, "Oh, like that probably not in that exact moment of grief would I bring up like, well, God works everything together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose." But I do think even for me in the midst of my deepest sufferings, that the truth of that has actually been a comfort. Like when I am incapable of seeing how, and it's not, and that doesn't mean that the things that happen are good. It doesn't mean that a tragic flood like this is a good thing, but that even in the midst of that like we believe that God is so big and he's so powerful and he's so strong that he can turn those things, or he can bring good things out of those, even if the thing itself is not good,
Yeah.
And it's like, why do those bad things happen? I think, well, in part, if you believe like we do in like the fact that the world was created good and that people were created good and that we chose sin in our own hearts, like it's not just that people have been separated from God, but that like the world itself fractured, right? Like we're not in the Garden of Eden anymore. And so I don't think that natural disasters were part of the pre-sin design. Like there's no evidence to say that the Garden of Eden had natural disasters, for example, or illnesses, but that those things have been introduced into the world as a result of our fallenness, of our sinfulness. And like the reason that I believe that that's actually a message of hope is to say, like, the intention of God's design is not that things should be this way, and we can recognize that, and the fact that we recognize that has actually been given to us. It's been like put in us as people created in the image of God to say, I know deep down that this is not the way things are supposed to be. Like children are not supposed to die in floods, and like war should not, like is not supposed to exist. That's not what we see in the Garden of Eden. And knowing that, like having that sensibility kind of placed inside of us, I hope would actually turn our minds and turn our hearts not away from God, but closer to say, I know things are not supposed to be this way. And I know that ultimately there will come a day when they won't be this way anymore, right? Again, I referenced it already from Revelation, but like there will be a day when there's no more tears and no more sorrow and no more pain, and that life has actually been promised to us because of Jesus. And so like, yes, do we grieve? I mean, there's so many examples in the Bible of people crying out like, God, where are you? Or how long, O Lord? That phrase shows up so many times. How long, O Lord, will you hide your face from me? How long, O Lord, will you keep us in this affliction? Like it's okay to grieve, but also as a source of hope, I think we need to be reminded that, man, like this is not the way that things were supposed to be, and it's not the way that things will always be. Right?
Yeah. I'm reminded of, just in the past couple of weeks, just been I just kind of recognize that like I always feel just like kind of uncomfortable.
Mm.
Like there's always a problem that pops up, or something that I fix, and then another thing comes up, and it's just
Yeah.
like I'm just so uncomfortable
Right.
because it's just not working. And then I was like questioning if I'm in like the right place. Am I where I'm supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just reading the Bible. The verse is Romans 8:22. So we know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up into the present time. Not only so, but we ourselves, who have been the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for our adoption to sonship, the redemption of our bodies. So, for in this hope we are saved. So then I kind of had recognized, like, yeah, I'm pretty frustrated and uncomfortable right now, but I'm just groaning, just waiting for the day where I could be reunited with God.
Oh yeah, I think there is something to that idea that like, oh, this isn't my home. This is not my eternal home, and so there will always be a little bit of angst, but that the solution for that comes in like seeking Jesus now in the ways that you can, and then being reunited with him fully. I think about also just like, of course, again, these things are tragic, but the number of stories that come out of these, stories of like dads, I might think about this as a parent, but like this dad swimming out of a flood zone with his kid like on his back, and he's just like, swimming for his life. He like rescued his kid from the flood. Or the camp counselor that was like, kept going back, like bringing kids out to the rescue team and then going back in after more kids, even when they tried to tell her to stop. And she ended up passing away because she was just committed to, I'm going to save as many of the kids as I can. And I just think about stories like that, thinking, man, it's absolutely heartbreaking and tragic. And also you see things like that and you're just reminded of like the things that are worth living for, like the things that do like bring a sense of purpose, and that like the way that God being good can use things like that and stories like that to transform lives, Like I wonder about the kids that were saved by that counselor. Like, those girls are young, right? I think they were like elementary school age kids, and it's like the ones that she was able to save, like they're going to grow up and their whole life they're going to know I'm here because somebody who like had a confidence in Jesus that he would take care of their eternity, and who just loved me because they loved Jesus, like died so that I could live, and like so that they could save me. Like just that like picture of the gospel, which I know is a big word, but like that picture of like, oh, somebody died for me. And for those girls, that's true on more than just obviously the God level being the most important, right? Like Jesus dying for us. But for them, an actual, like a person that they knew while they were alive died for them so that they could survive out of this tragedy. And it's like, man, if that doesn't just point them back to God and like give them opportunity to, even in the future, like tell other people about like the way that they were protected and that somebody loved them enough to like sacrifice themselves for them. Like, wow, like what a powerful testimony that will be. And so again, it's like, man, that's heartbreaking, the circumstances, and yet like God will work good out of it. And I do think for those of us who are struggling in these situations, it can be easy to just get caught up in the news cycle and to try and process things like this alone. And one of the things that we really emphasize at Journey is finding people, getting people around you in community that you can lean on in times like this, whether it's somebody who's coaching you, maybe they have a little bit more life experience than you, or even if it's just peers, but somebody who you can process these things with in a way that's not just like wrapped up inside your own head. Because I know for me, even in the times of my life that I've struggled, like one of the things that has brought me through has been the people around me. And I'm sure that's true for you too, Abigail. So
So we actually happen to have a journey workbook right here, and one of the things, again, like Tyler was saying, we do really encourage community and getting together and just processing with people and growing closer in relationship. And one of the ways that you could do that is through the Journey Coaching Workbook. This is just a framework to get people together, and there's 7 sessions, and you can go through it with someone you don't know very well, and you can just learn more about them, and hopefully you can build a relationship through that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have something to kind of give a little bit of structure to where you're going, but really the thought process behind it comes a lot, again, just from the example of Jesus. Like, what did he do? He he did a lot of things, but like one of the things he did a lot was he shared meals with people and, talked to them about them and about him. And so one of the things that we encourage is, like grab coffee or lunch, grab a book and a friend, and just use those times to build relationships, to process through things, to learn about yourself. I mean, one of the biggest things for me going through the Journey Workbook was just learning things about myself that I hadn't realized before because I hadn't been asking the right questions. And so just want to really encourage that, especially for those who are maybe struggling or, just worried. I know I've talked to a number of people recently who just feel this overall kind of general anxiety towards the state of the world. And ultimately, we're not going to be able to move through those things on our own. And so we want to encourage you to get into that. And also, if you get to a point where you feel like you need additional guidance, we would encourage you also to reach out to a trusted counselor, specifically maybe a Christian therapist in your area, and get the help that you need from them.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching this episode.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next time and make sure you like and subscribe. Visit us at journeycoaching.org and check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Start your own journey at journeycoaching.org.
Your life, your journey starts now.